Hey guys, what is up? It is the Fast Break Report here, bringing you guys another vlog. And in this one, I wanted to talk about the Pacers and their NBA draft and a little bit about Myles Turner. Because there's a certain part of the Myles Turner extension I just don't think people are thinking about. And I want to talk about just how the draft kind of affects Myles Turner's free agency. So I'm going to say this, all right? I was a little disappointed we didn't get Ryan Kalkbrenner out of Creighton in the draft, because I feel like that was the guy we were probably targeting, and the Hornets ended up getting him. I don't think anybody expected them to trade Mark Williams to the Suns, but you know, sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles. But they did draft Cam Jones out of Marquette. I don't know much about him, but I do know this seemed like this was plan B. It seems like they were maybe going for a center or a good wing, and then once that was no longer the case, that like the people they wanted were off the board, they just decided to do what we do best and draft guards. I don't know why. We don't need any more fucking guards. There was another center on the board that I thought we maybe could have used, but this is the decision the front office made, and we got to live with it. It is what it's going to be. Cam Jones supposedly is a decent player. I mean, both players are old, okay? And like they're older rookies. I have no idea how good they're going to be. I'm not going to bank, anything on it. I'm not going to hang my hat on the idea that they're going to be good players, but because most second round picks just simply don't pan out, but you never know. Andrew Nembhard was a second round pick. So, that's what I think about the draft. I'm really not super excited about it. I don't care much about either player. I think Talon Pete, or whatever his name is, Talon Pete, is a guy that's going to spend most of his time in the G League. He's like Chris Duarte 2.0. And Cam Jones is just the guy we picked up because we needed a third string point guard. So that's why I think we did that. Now, I want to get into the main reason I'm kind of making this video, and that's Myles Turner. I feel like not getting Ryan Kalkbrenner kind of cemented the fact that we're going to re-sign Myles Turner. Tony East seems to think it's an obvious thing to do, and on the surface level, yeah, it is obvious. If you don't want to look at it from the 10,000 foot level. But it's just the idea. Is it obvious that you bring back Myles Turner? Sure, if you want to remain competitive, which they're going to, because Herb Simon is a guy who somehow never wants to pay the luxury tax, but somehow always wants to remain competitive. Amazing. But I just think people are not thinking about the long-term repercussions of signing Myles Turner to $30 million a year when he's simply not worth $30 million a year. I've watched Tony East talk about this like every episode already, where he seems to think it's an obvious thing that you bring back Myles Turner. And yeah, in a way, it is. If you want to keep the team together and continue to be competitive and be a playoff team this upcoming year, sure. The thing is, I don't think we're even going to be a playoff team. That's the problem, because Tyrese Halliburton is what makes this thing go, all right? A lot of guys are going to play significantly worse without Tyrese Halliburton to set them up. Not saying it's going to be Obi Toppin, because he gets a lot of time with TJ McConnell, and TJ McConnell is good at getting him open, but guys like Andrew Nembhard, guys like Aaron Nesmith, guys like Myles Turner, okay, are all going to have down years. I'm telling you right now, they're all, like Myles Turner specifically is going to have a down year. He's going to go back to being like instead of a 17-8 guy, he's going to go back to being like a 14-6 guy, 14-7 guy, maybe even a 12-6 or 12-7 guy. Because the numbers he put up before Halliburton got there were simply not that impressive. And without Halliburton to set him up, I don't think Myles Turner's really that impressive of a player. I don't think he's that impressive of a player in general. I think he doesn't rebound. I think he's not really a good one-on-one defender. I think he fouls the shit out of the other team's best player when he has to play a Joel Embiid or a Nikola Jokic or even a Giannis Antetokounmpo. Myles Turner always, for whatever reason, instead of like trying to play defense, just ends up fouling the shit out of them and getting in foul trouble. And not that that's an easy thing to do. It's just the idea. Myles Turner gets in foul trouble a lot of times. He's a very inconsistent player, and when his three-point shot is not falling, the guy is practically fucking unplayable. So that's why I don't like Myles Turner. I understand why they want to bring him back. I understand why they probably will bring him back, but there are some long-term repercussions that we really need to think about that I just don't think anybody is. I think we just went to the NBA Finals, so everybody's thinking about the here and now, and I get that. It's hard not to. You look at this roster and everybody's got rose-tinted glasses about it, like, oh, well, when Halliburton comes back, we'll just run it back again. We'll be in the fucking finals again, and that's easy to think about, but it's not true. And the reason I say it's not true is because everybody on our team, by the time Tyrese Halliburton comes back, will be like 2 years older, okay? You're looking at a 35-year-old TJ McConnell. You're looking at a 33-year-old Pascal Siakam, right? Tyrese Halliburton will be older. He'll still be in his prime, but it's not the end of the world. Myles Turner will be north of 30, okay? And the question I want to ask is, do we think it's worth paying Myles Turner $30 million a year and going over into the luxury tax line if it means coming at the cost of having to trade Andrew Nembhard, Ben Mathurin, Aaron Nesmith, or Obi Toppin, or even TJ McConnell? Because that's what's going to happen. All right? I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but Herb Simon's not going to pay the fucking luxury tax for 2 years straight if we're not going to be a championship level team. He's just not. And what we're going to do is sign Myles Turner to 3 years, $90 million, or 4 years, $120, and we're going to keep his inconsistent ass around, and it's going to come at the cost of one of our really, really good role players. For a guy who's just inconsistent all the fucking time, who I kind of am tired of hearing about. Myles Turner's gotten better. Okay, he's become a better player, but is he worth $30 million a year to keep on your team for a team that most likely's final run is done until we start putting pieces back together? Is that worth keeping? I guess it's worth finding out, but the flip side of the coin that I feel like a lot of people are not thinking about is Detroit's going to be really good by the time Tyrese Halliburton comes back and plays. Cleveland, probably still going to be very good. Milwaukee, who knows? If Giannis, goes to another team, that could shake up the league. Miami is probably going to try to do some type of retool. I don't see Miami sucking forever. I just don't. You look at Atlanta. Atlanta's got some young, promising guys. Onyeka Okongwu. They got Zachary Richiche, if I said that correctly. They have Jalen Johnson. They have Trae Young. They just traded for Kristaps Porzingis. So, even Brooklyn. Brooklyn's got a shit ton of cap space and a shit ton of draft picks. They're a team that could be on the come up by that time. Like, there's too many what ifs. And Boston's another team that I have a feeling they're going to try to retool a little bit, and they have. They've already dumped $238 million in cap space in the last week by getting rid of Porzingis and Drew Holiday's god-awful contract, right? Boston's tooling up. Like, Boston's not going to suck forever. Like, yeah, Tatum might be injured, but they're not going to let that, dwindle their championship aspirations when the East is weak as shit. So, it's just the idea, man. I feel like people are looking at this in the short term and not in the long term. And the problem I have with Myles Turner is Tyrese Halliburton's not going to be here, and at least for a year. And people are going to look at Myles Turner and realize just how bad he is. That's my problem with it. He's going to go back to being a dude who maybe scores 12, 14 points a game and only gives you 6 or 7 rebounds. And people are going to look at that and say, why the fuck are we paying him $30 million? When he's not young anymore, when he's not 25, 24 years old anymore. That's why I don't get why people look at the Naz Reid contract and are like, oh yeah, well that's what Myles Turner's worth. Naz Reid is 25 years old, and I don't even think he's gotten anywhere near as good as he could be. He was 6th man of the year. Okay, if he were a starter, his numbers would be better. Guarantee it. But my problem with the Myles Turner shit is everybody wants him back for the vibes because he's an Indiana diehard. But at what cost? Ask yourself that question. At what cost? Because if you have to trade Obi Toppin, if you have to trade Andrew Nembhard, if you have to trade Aaron Nesmith, if you have to trade Benedict Mathurin, you can maybe live without. But if you have to trade any of those guys to keep Myles Turner around, good luck. You better find a replacement. You better hope Jarris Walker becomes that dude. That's all I'm saying. Because a lot of the dudes that we draft never end up becoming the guys we think they will be. Even like Benedict Mathurin. Even Benedict Mathurin was a guy that we thought was going to be like really, really good. And we've seen flashes of it. And maybe he will become that guy this upcoming year. That's a possibility. But I don't look at Benedict Mathurin and see like a bona fide league MVP one day. I see a dude who could maybe be on DeMar DeRozan's level, star talent-wise. Or, you know, maybe if things go really well, he gets into like the Anthony Edwards conversation. But then again, that's like almost an MVP level player. So, you know, you got to think about these things. Do you want to be locked into Myles Turner for $30 million for the next 3 to 4 years? When one of those years, Halliburton's not even going to be here. And then, you know, you never know. Guys could get discouraged. James Johnson's probably going to retire. You got to go out and find yourself another enforcer. If you do give Myles Turner this contract, the front office has got to put some stipulation in it that he's got to get better at rebounding. Like, I'm sorry, he has to. We're 28th out of 30 teams in the league in rebounding. That's why I think it's fucking bonkers to me when I hear people say, like, Myles Turner fits our system perfectly. Like, perfectly? Perfectly? Maybe if he played for the fucking Bucks. Maybe if he played for the fucking Dallas Mavericks where they have Anthony Davis and he doesn't have to do any of the fucking dirty work. Yeah, on those teams he's a perfect fit. Not on our team. Yeah, we have Pascal Siakam, but Pascal Siakam's not a world herder either when it comes to rebounding. So, you know, I understand rebounding is a team thing, but the problem is I feel like people don't understand this about basketball. If you can't win the rebound battle, you will likely not win games. We've been very good at maintaining it, but we saw it in the playoffs, man. Like, Myles Turner can't box out, can't rebound, and if his three's not falling, he's kind of unplayable. There's a reason Tony Bradley got minutes in the NBA Finals, boys, and it's not because he's a good basketball player. It's because he can fucking rebound, and Myles Turner can't. He boxes out, and Myles Turner doesn't. So, I don't know, man. You know what? At the end of the day, the front office is going to do what they want to do. I have a feeling they're going to re-sign Myles Turner regardless because they don't have any cap space, and he's the only guy that they have the rights to that they can go over the cap to keep. But the thing is, I wouldn't be mad if they didn't bring him back and then tried to find themselves like a young center. Like, like a rookie contract, like a Walker Kessler. I really like Day'Ron Sharpe, but he's a restricted free agent. But he's a great defender. I don't know what the front office is going to do. But I will say this. Understand that re-signing Myles Turner to a 3-year or 4-year deal worth $90 million to $120 million is going to come at a cost. Understand that it's going to come at a cost. We don't know what that cost is, but odds are that cost is likely going to be Obi Toppin, or it's likely going to be Andrew Nembhard. And then I want you to ask yourself, are those two players you think you can live without? Are those two players that you would rather have Myles Turner over? Because I wouldn't. All right. Yeah, Andrew Nembhard doesn't play well during the regular season, but he's one of the best defenders on the. He is a better defender than Myles Turner. I will say it. I don't care. I don't care what you think of Myles Turner. Andrew Nembhard is a better defender than Myles Turner. When it comes to one-on-one defense, when it comes to locking a motherfucker down, Andrew Nembhard is better than Myles Turner. When it comes to bench production and what somebody does for our team, I think Obi Toppin is more important than Myles Turner. I do not and never have thought Myles Turner was a third-star player. He might have an 85 overall or 84 overall in 2K, but I see this motherfucker play in real life, okay? And I'm telling you right now, without Tyrese Halliburton, Myles Turner's going to have a down year. And then people are going to look at that contract and go, oh, well, Myles Turner only gave us like 14-8 or 14-7 this year. Or he only gave us 13-7 or 12-7 or something like that. And people are going to look at that and go, why the fuck are we paying $30 million for that? And the front office is going to keep him because Myles has diehard fanboys and they just want to keep him around. And then they're going to trade somebody that really matters to this roster. That way Herb Simon doesn't have to pay the luxury tax anymore. So, all I'm saying is I understand the move, right? Like, I understand why they want to keep Myles Turner in the short term. But in the long term, you potentially sign a guy to a contract you can't get off of. And nobody wants the Duncan Robinson contract. Nobody wants the Jrue Holiday contract. Nobody wants the Jeremy Grant contract. Nobody wants horrible contracts. Nobody wants the Zach LaVine contract. Why? Because these are moves made out of desperation. And moves made out of desperation are usually bad. They're usually always bad. And that's why I don't like the Myles Turner signing, is because it feels like a desperation move because they know there's nobody else. And you're going to bring him back, and as a courtesy, because he's been here for so long and has chosen Indiana before, they're going to pay him what he wants. But down the road, next year, I don't want to hear anybody bitching. Okay? If you wanted him, you're going to get him. You're going to overpay for him next year. One of those years is going to be a down year because Halliburton's not playing. I don't want to hear everybody saying, Myles Turner sucks now. Oh, Myles Turner's not as good as he used to be. Yeah, because Tyrese Halliburton's not there. Tyrese Halliburton makes everybody look better than they actually are. And even before Tyrese Halliburton, Myles was a guy that was like, I don't understand why we keep him. So, understand that. That's all I'm saying. Understand that re-signing Myles Turner comes at a cost. What that cost is, it remains yet to be seen. But it's going to come at a cost. You look at a guy like Isaiah Jackson, right? $13.3 million cap hold. Torn Achilles. You think Isaiah Jackson's going to be the same player he was before that Achilles injury? I don't think so. Only because all of his ability is based on athletic ability, right? So, and if you look at a history of the guys who have torn their Achilles and came back as a better player, there's only one of them. Only one. And it's Kevin Durant. So, do what you want with that information. But understand, torn Achilles usually end careers. Or end careers a lot shorter than they should have been. So, everybody has their own opinions. Everybody's entitled to their own opinions, even if they're wrong, including myself. You know, not everything I say is going to be right. My problem is I feel like we're looking at this in the Myles Turner extension like if he comes back, then we're automatically a playoff team again once Tyrese Halliburton returns. And that's not necessarily the case. Yeah, you might be able to keep the roster together, but that doesn't mean that, you know, Detroit's not going to get better. That doesn't mean that Brooklyn and their shit ton of draft picks and shit ton of cap space is not going to get better. That doesn't mean that Boston is not going to continue to be a good team or try to retool to do something. That doesn't mean Cleveland's not going to continue to be a good team. That doesn't mean that New York's not going to continue to be a good team. That doesn't mean that Atlanta's not going to get better. That doesn't mean that Chicago's not going to get better. That doesn't mean that Charlotte's not going to get better. So that's the thing. Like, I think people fail to understand that all it takes is one trade. All it takes is one trade to shift the momentum from the Western Conference to the Eastern Conference. Do we forget? You know, all it takes is one player to move. One player to leave, one player to come, and it could change the entire outlook of your franchise outside of your own fucking control. Like the Luka Doncic trade. I get that wasn't a conference trade, but Dallas was a team that went to the Western Conference Finals the year before and then just said, fuck it, let's just trade Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis. No one is safe. You know what I'm saying? That's the point. No one is safe. So just understand that, like, I don't know, because I honestly, I hate to say this, but I feel like the championship window is kind of closed. Maybe not shut entirely, but if you're talking about the door hitting you on the ass on the way out, we're like 80% out the door. Unfortunately, I felt like this year was our year. It sucks that, you know, what happened to Tyrese Halliburton happened, and we're going to get a great ESPN 30 for 30 out of it, but understand that a lot can change in a year. A lot can change in 2 years. Like, you have to also, like, you have to think about free agency too. You know, the 2026 free agency class is supposed to be fucking great. So, like I said, there's no guarantee that by re-signing Myles Turner and keeping the roster together, and then Tyrese Halliburton comes back, that you're just automatically a bona fide playoff team that's bound to do business in the NBA Finals. So, that's all. That's all I'm saying, because it's an outcome that I don't think people are thinking about. I think everybody just blindly says, yeah, we should or shouldn't do something because of the here and now, because of where we are now, even if that means we're not going to be here in the future. And that, to me, is a mistake. To me, that is the biggest mistake you could make, assuming that shit in the future is going to be the same as it is today, because it's never the fucking same. So, all right, I'm done. I've had enough. I've said my piece on it. I'm done. See you guys in the next one.